Hi there. So I'm getting married and I'm gonna sew my own wedding dress. So I thought it'd be really fun to make a video documenting the process just because this is a project that will take some time. It's not something you just pick a pattern and start sewing right away. And I thought it'd be really fun just to document the process and just show what it's like.
Are you helping?
Draft number 1 is complete, and this is what my final product is. It fits almost perfectly. There's really not much I'm gonna have to change about it. Disregard the skirt. I'm gonna be swapping out a different skirt pattern. The point of this first one was just to check the sizing, making sure the pattern was true to size, which it seems like it is. I don't know, I think it's super cute. I guess we're gonna be on to the next mock-up. So if I look exhausted, it's because I am. Wedding plans have changed and I'm getting married in like a week and a half now. So I'm not doing a second draft, I'm just going for it. I found a skirt pattern I'd like to substitute. I've never sewn with lace before, and in an ideal world, I would have more time to practice, but honestly, I'm just going for it. I've got a satin base and Mabel's keeping me company. So we're gonna get through this. All right, I'm here at Joann Fabrics trying to choose a bridal fabric, and my beloved fiance's come along to me. This is the one. Okay, so here's some of the progress I've made so far with the final draft, seeing as I'm just skipping the full mock-up and we're just gonna go for it. This was the scariest part, getting it all to meet nicely right at this point instead of having a gap. You kind of have to get it to line up really well. Sewing with lace is not as scary as I thought it was. I don't know if there's necessarily a right way to do it. Sometimes I think that actually over-researching makes me get a little too intimidated, especially if people tell me a trick or a certain type of material is hard to work with. Sometimes I just like to go and do it. So I'm pressing the seam allowance down so it lays nicely. I'm going to trim the bulk here, and then I'm going to do a simple top stitch along these lines. It will help keep the seam allowance down and it'll help it lay flat so that it looks nice when I'm wearing it. Not bad progress. I am sorry I skipped over a lot of the steps and you guys only got to tune in pretty much when I was attaching the waistband to the bodice, but I mean, it was just simple shoulder seam stitching anyway. This was kind of where the magic really begins, but I'm not mad about it. So here are my 2 patterns that I'm going to be using for sewing this dress. I'm taking the bodice from this one and I'm going to be combining it with this skirt. I think this has a lovely look to it. The example fabric that they're using is satin, which is what I'm using. So I think it'll work nicely. Plus the back seam of it is going to line up with the way that I am sewing this dress, because this original pattern calls for an invisible zipper on the side, but I want mine going down the back so it can match up with this skirt. So what I did was I had to separate the back into two, add a seam allowance. And that way I'll be able to put either a zipper or maybe if I want to do buttons down the back of the dress, and it all matches up nicely. Back to work. Last night I cut out some of the skirt pieces for the dress. I've got the satin, the lace, and then right here I have the lining. This is a very simple skirt pattern to do, so right now I'm just giving it a little bit of an iron. Then I just have to attach each of the layers to each other before I can attach it to the bodice of the dress. As you can see here, I'm getting ready to attach the skirt to the top part of the dress, but you can see these lines right here, they don't perfectly add up, which is of the downsides of combining patterns is sometimes you're in between sizes, and if you're combining it, they might not match up perfectly. However, I could either just take the sides of the skirt in a little bit more, or I could do a gathering stitch on the skirt, which means it's slightly bunched up, but then to get it to match the bodice. I think that's what I'm gonna do. I think it'll still look nice. Doing a gathering stitch is pretty easy. I don't know if you can see the stitches really well here on the skirt waistband, but you can see one stitch where they're closer together, and then there's a wider stitch where they're looser. So with the looser stitch, you can pull slightly, and that is how you get the skirt to gather, and that way it can match up with the top part of the dress, and you can attach it nicely where everything ends up. You can go ahead and start pinning it right sides together. So here comes the really exciting part. You can see the dress really begin to come together. It's really coming together, and I'm getting really excited at this point. Back seam is complete. So this is what we've got so far. All that's left is I'm going to need to hem the skirt, and we need to do the sleeves. But it's nice, it's coming together. Feels nice, it's comfortable. A bit of a frustrating mistake has happened, but I'm going to be unpicking the hem of this dress. I'm not happy with how it's laying. I don't know if you can see, hi Mabel. Mabel wants attention. I don't know if you can see, but I just don't quite like how this hem looks, and it's slightly puckered and just going out rather than laying flat. So I looked online and I found a different technique to sew the hem. I think with a circle skirt, the hem can be a little bit trickier. It seems like other people have had similar issues. I wish I looked it up beforehand and thought to try something different, but I just kind of went with what I knew, and it's not quite working out for me. So unfortunately I have a lot of thread to unpick, but other than that though, still going well. Part of the process, I suppose. Who is the patron saint of sewing? Because this kind of feels like an all hands on deck situation here. I have finally ripped all the seams. So the new way, I've looked it up online and I found a technique that I think I'm going to try. I'm going to flip the seam, stitch, sewing from the top down, and that's what gets it to lay nice and flat. Then I'm going to trim this seam and flip it once more, because that will tuck the raw edges under, and that's how you get a nice finished garment without any raw edges exposed. I think it looks a bit better. It's laying a little flatter. It's not perfect. I had to like refill my thread halfway through while stitching, so I was like, oh, where did I leave off while I was folding it under? But it's not super bad. So I think I'm gonna leave it for the day. Oh, I got stray hairs. But I think I'm just gonna leave it for the night, sleep on it, do the sleeves over the weekend and all the other finishing touches, and then see from there. want right sides together when I'm doing this, and I need to match up the seam on the side with the seam on the sleeve. Essentially, you just kind of drop the sleeve in and pin into place. And then when I take this to the sewing machine, I have to be really careful to make sure that it's lined up really well as I'm sewing, or else I can get the sleeve bunched up and it comes out looking really strange. It's not hard to do, but it's just a lot of maneuvering fabric. I've tried on the gown several times and I am really happy about it. There was one step left. I have to sew in my tag, Kelsey-Bear's Cozy Fairs. I think it's only right because Nick's the one who started calling me Kelsey-Bear, and now all our friends call me Kelsey-Bear. My mother-in-law calls me Kelsey-Bear. Oh, Mabel's coming. Hi. I don't know if you could see. But anyway, I've got some facing I'm gonna go ahead and stitch it into, and then I'll get to try it on and I'll be done.